Ding dong, the witch is dead. Kathleen Kennedy was just walked out of Disney today, officially her last day of destroying Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Her reign of terror lasts 14 years. 14 years she managed to destroy two of the most beloved franchises in the world in Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And today they walked her out of the studio and that's it. Box in hand, fired. Early reports were, oh, she's going to finish up this. She's going to finish up that. She's going to work on this. Nope. You're just done. Get out. The world is sick and tired of you destroying their beloved IPs. It is a great day. It's a day to celebrate. Let's look at this story. By the way, a quick favor, if you're watching this on, if you're a YouTube only viewer, really could use your help. I live stream every day at 2 Eastern with Hannah Claire Brimlow, Melanie Mack, Luke Rodowski. And while a lot of people watch on Rumble, for example, 13,000 people are watching me record this right now. If you just, I don't want to do it, you don't want to, please do subscribe to Quartering Live. If you just search Quartering Live in one word, or use the link in the description, you don't have to, if you're not available at 2 Eastern to watch us live, you can still watch it later. Really trying to get us to 20,000 subs there. We're at 12.5 thousand now. I just know that, you guys will love the show if you tune in, and I could really use your support. So link in the description or just search up Quartering Live. Help us hit 20,000 subs. I would greatly appreciate it. End of an empire. Kathleen Kennedy departs unceremoniously from Disney and Star Wars. An empire enters a new age. The first post-Disney Star Wars dynasty is over. Kathleen Kennedy stepped down officially today as Lucasfilm president after 13 horrible years in charge. She has officially quit as president of Lucasfilm, Disney's subsidiary home to the Star Wars franchise. Now, I will legitimately ask you, has there been any good Kathleen Kennedy run product that's come out of Star Wars? You could argue maybe early Mandalorian, but that was not really Kathleen Kennedy. That was more so Dave Filoni. And if we look, if you want to talk about generational bag fumbling, yes, bag fumbling, okay, the only good movie I would argue that Disney ever put out in the Star Wars franchise was Rogue One. And that was a massive financial loss for them. Disney took over and they came out of the gate. Let me zoom in here. I've got to be better about zooming in now that I have a bigger monitor so people can actually see. They come out of the gate $2 billion when they release The Force Awakens, which is essentially a remake. Massive financial success. Now, they spent $500 million on that movie. So they needed to make more than $1 billion just to break even, closer to 1.4 or 1.5 billion. But they definitely made, and that does not include merch sales and, the Star Wars theme park that also failed. Then we have Rogue One, a movie that cost them $280 million. So you have a break-even point of 600 to 700 million, making 1 million, still broke the billion, sorry. Then they come up with episode 8, and look at that drop. This is indicative of the product that people saw. If people loved The Force Awakens, then you would see that number increase. Instead, it made almost 50% less than The Force Awakens at $1.3 billion. Then they released Solo, a Star Wars story, which lost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Then they released The Rise of Skywalker, which also took another 30% dip. So they went from 2.1 billion to 1.3 billion to barely 1 billion. So they lost 50% of their revenue in the trilogy. This is a disaster, and they probably made money on maybe one or two of these. This is also not including the critical disasters that they rolled out to Disney Plus. Who can forget the space lesbians in Acolyte? And the rage twerking from the star, the Afro black chick who went on and rage twerked and got big mad at people making fun of how terrible that show was. I mean, this is perhaps the biggest fumbled bag ever. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't left a like yet, Tatiana Maslany is out, and She-Hulk is officially over forever. She-Hulk was another brainchild of Kathleen Kennedy and was a complete disaster. Tatiana Maslany openly rebelled against Disney, but I guess we'll all have the memory of She-Hulk twerking, right? And remember how instead of wondering how these films, why these films are so bad, why they made less money, do you guys remember what Disney decided to do? Do you remember what Disney did to the diehard fans? Instead of accepting the fact that their movies were terrible and, basically everything was bad, what did they do? They blamed men. And all that did, they blamed men and YouTubers. That's how they dealt with it. Now, Deadline covers this. Star Wars shakeup: Dave Filoni and Lewin Brennan, new Lucasfilm presidents, as Kathleen Kennedy goes back to producing. In a long-expected transition, Kathleen Kennedy is stepping. Now, I don't think it can be understated that this, I believe, they accelerated. I think they accelerated her exit. I think she was probably going to stick around, and kind of slowly fade away. But they basically came out of nowhere on a Friday and was like, nah, she's fired. She's gone. She sucks. Everybody knows she sucks. That's probably how she got her job in the first place. It's been, and honestly, I don't know if Star Wars can ever be saved, but if it can be, it's going to take another 10 years of just strict fan service to have any hope whatsoever. Right? Strict fan service, no more feminist BS, no more, whatever it is, rage twerking and space witches scissorsing to create the Force. All of that has to go away, and they have to go back to dudes kicking ass and having pretty girls who don't hate men. The new leaders are hardly coming from a galaxy far, far away. The new president and chief creative officer is Dave Filoni, who has been Lucasfilm executive vice president and chief creative officer. Serving as Lucasfilm's new co-president is Lewin Brennan, the longtime president and GM of Lucasfilm Business. Now, I can't exactly run out there and say, Dave Filoni definitely deserves some blame, right? I don't know if he just wasn't involved in the Acolyte, but the Acolyte still came out under his watch. The male fan hating still happened under his watch. You go here, Dave Filoni. So back then, the shingle hadn't made quite a big movie in about a decade. After that $4 billion plus acquisition, Lucasfilm launched a new era of Star Wars storytelling and franchise expansion that bore 5 theatrical releases that grossed $5.9 billion globally. Everyone talks about gross because that's a big number. But the reality is, most of these films lost money. Most of them lost money. Well, no, I shouldn't say most. Several of them lost money. That started with J.J. Abrams' 2015 The Force Awakens, which remains the biggest ever North American box office performance at $936 million, and one of the 7 films to crack $2 billion global gross mark. The Last Jedi lost 70% of that, or 50% of that, at $1.3 billion. The Rise of Skywalker dropped to $1 billion. The standalone Rogue One grossed over $1 billion and hatched the Emmy Award-winning follow-up series Andor. Now, I didn't watch Andor. I heard it was okay, but let's not forget, Dave Filoni is basically another male feminist. So I don't know that I can run out there and say, Star Wars is saved. Star Wars is saved. I mean, I think it'll be way too early. If you want to talk about anybody who did good, it's probably Jon Favreau, right? The Mandalorian took the opposite path, enlisting Jon Favreau to launch Lucasfilm's first foray into live-action series to anchor the launch of Disney Plus in 2019. Favreau expands that tale into the big screen this summer, so we'll see. If The Mandalorian and Grogu is a good movie, then we can wonder why Jon Favreau didn't get this role. Because I think that's a very fair question to ask. subsequent limited and live action series have been Obi-Wan, which was a disaster, Ahsoka, which is a disaster, and again, Andor, which I hear was good. I noticed they didn't talk about, what's the other one with the scissorsing chicks? Was that in Ahsoka? Or was that what was the scissorsing chicks in? I can't even remember. Lucasfilm also branched into the animated with Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, Young Jedi Adventures and Visions. I didn't really watch any of the cartoons. Some people say they were okay. I don't remember. But, bringing in Filoni, I don't think automatically fixes it, but it does. We'll see. Because we have the feature film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which women are going to see because everyone loves their little Grogu, their little green guy floating around in his little egg, But like, if they go back with more of this, the Force is female nonsense, you're going to see, like, the thing is, when The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out in May, I don't know if you could expect it to be a massive success because people have been beat into submission. You're going to need more and more people. You're going to need like several good movies to come out and probably underperform to really get your fandom back. And the question will be, is Disney willing to do that? The Acolyte was the space lesbians, to correct that from earlier. But I don't know. I think her getting booted is great. I think She-Hulk being officially over is great. And you're going to have to let me know in the comments. And if you made it to the end of the video, please do help us reach 20,000 subscribers over on Quartering Live if you're a YouTube-only viewer. If you're willing to try out the free speech platform Rumble, obviously follow the Quartering there. I live stream there every day, Monday through Thursday, 2 Eastern, Friday at 1 Eastern. I really, really appreciate your support. I really want to grow the live stream in 2026. And I'm hoping to see you over there. So I'll leave a link in the description, or you can just search Quartering Live, 2 words or even 1. It should come up. Ripperonis, rest in piss, Kathleen Kennedy.